This is a quote from a survivor of Treblinka. "Don't stand idle just because it does not concern you. Otherwise it might happen again." Eddie Weinstein. Treblinka. At first glance, it looks like an old abandoned rail station. Then you look closer. You see the memorials, the scars. This wasn't just a quiet little rail station. No, this was a Nazi concentration camp. The Holocaust. We don't want to remember it sometimes. We don't want to remember all the sadness and the torture. Most of us know what the Holocaust is, but we don't want to remember it. We let it pass by. Some people just say, "Oh, it was just a few million compared to the hundreds of million that died in World War II." But those few million, there was no reason for them to die. They never did anything to deserve this. Hitler just needed someone to blame, someone to rally against. The Jews seemed like a weak enough group, so we blamed the Jews for all the problems Germany had. There is a reason why we remember the atrocities of the Holocaust. We remember and honor the living and the dead. Treblinka opened on July 23, 1942, with the beginning of the evacuation of the Warsaw Ghetto. There were actually two camps, Treblinka 1 and Treblinka 2. Treblinka 1 was a work camp, where they were forced to work until they could work no more. If they were too old, too young, or too weak to work, they were sent to Treblinka 2. Treblinka 2 was an extermination camp. Treblinka 2 opened with 3 gas chambers, but eventually it grew to 6. This is a picture of the Jewish population. They were taken and put into cattle wagons. Cattle wagons are what they hauled cattle in when they were transported by train. They were treated like a common animal. Treblinka is located in Poland. The location is indicated by the red circle. Once the train started arriving again, Eddie Weinstein remembers seeing a sick woman. Her legs wouldn't hold her. The SS man said to take her to the hospital, so that the new arrivals could see how well they were looking after the wounded. The so-called hospital was one of the 3 big pits, where they put the dead. The sick and the wounded were taken there, shot in the neck, and thrown in. Stengel was a brutal man. He was the leader of the camp, as was his assistant commandant, Kurt Herbert Franz. He was the worst sadist you can imagine, Weinstein says. One day, he walked in with 5 SS officers, and they said they needed 40 people. Weinstein was in line, but he managed to get out without anybody noticing. They took them to the middle of the field and told them to undress. Then they told them to turn around to the grave, and they were shot in the neck and kicked them into the pit. This next video is the testament of a survivor of Treblinka.
קודם כל, הם שלחו את הנשים לתאי הגז. הכניסו אותם לצריף, התפשטו, גזזו להם את השערות, וכשהיו גמורות כבר, אז עם מכות רצח הוציאו אותם מהצריף להימלשטרסה. קודם אנשים, הימלשטרסה זה הדרך לשמיים. ככה הגרמנים קראו לזה, או שלאוך או הימלשטרסה. זה היה דרך 2-3 מטר אולי, מגודר בשני הצדדים ומוסווה עם ענפים שלא ראו שום דבר מה שנעשה. ובתוך השלאוך הזה, בתוך ההימלשטרסה, עמדו גרמנים, אוקראינים עם כלבים, והם נשכו בכל חלקי העבר של הנשים, ונכנסו לתאי הגזים. הגז בפנים לא היה ציקלון כמו שבבירקנאו, אלא פשוט מאוד ממנוע רוסי, מטנק רוסי. אז זה הריל, חנק את האנשים אחרי 25 דקות, כולם היו נחנקים. נורא היום היה לשמוע את הזעקות ואת הייסורים של האנשים, ושל הילדים, וזעקו מה מטאטה, מה מטאטה, ואחרי כמה דקות נחנקו. היה שם גרמני, גוסטף מינסברגר, הוא היה אחראי על תאי הגזים, על הקלפות האלו. הוא עלה על הרמפה, הוא שמע, aufmachen לפתוח, alles schlaft, כולם ישנים.
Like all other death camps, Treblinka adhered to the specific routine that supported the rules of resettlement, and which minimized the chances of Jewish rebellion or resistance. Details were added in each of the death centers to support the lie of Jewish resettlement. The Star of David on the front wall of Treblinka's gas house, and the Hebrew inscription on the curtain that hung at the entrance that read, "This is the gate through which the righteous pass," are just two examples. This is a picture of one of the 3 big pits where they threw the bodies in at Treblinka. The Nazis predicted that the Jews from the Polish districts of Warsaw, Radom, Białystok, and Lublin, as well as others from Theresienstadt concentration camp, Macedonia, and the Reich, comprised that nearly 750,000 people who would die in the gas chambers of Treblinka between July 1942 and April 1943. Primarily Jews, the victims would often die within 2 hours of their arrival. This is a picture of Jewish inmates working at Treblinka 1. There were some acts of resistance in Treblinka. Several incidents by individuals or transports would result in the wounding or death of SS men and Ukrainians. An underground resistance movement existed which included inmates from both camps at Treblinka. The biggest resistance effort came in August 1943. A core group of 50 to 70 men planned to take weapons from the camp armory to destroy the camp installations and allow inmates to flee to the surrounding forest. It was anticipated that once an uprising was begun, many other prisoners would join. While the beginning of the plan went smoothly, a suspicious SS guard forced the resistance into action sooner than planned. Before the guard, SS officer Kurt Kuttner could alarm other guards, some resistance fighters opened fire and set some camp buildings on fire. Masses of prisoners tried to storm the fence and escape. They were fired upon and mostly killed by guards in the watchtower, security forces searching the area. Of the 750 prisoners who tried to escape, only 70 survived to see liberation. This is a picture of the armory after the revolt. The camp was shut down in late July 1944 due to the advancing Russian force. There is a reason why this monument stands here. It stands here so we can mourn, remember, and honor the victims of the Holocaust.